Evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the sort of mixed up weather. We're a wee bit late. We're a few minutes late because we were talking about F1 and Lego behind the scenes, backstage, shall we say. But tonight we are joined again by this young lady, Catherine McLean, co-founder of Unlock Part. What it says on the screen, Paranormal. How are we? How are we, Kat?
Grand.
It's been a while since we had you on, isn't it?
It's been far too long.
It's been because you've been kind of busy. I know you say that our own life gets in the way, work and all the rest of it, and you make arrangements, but then something kind of pops up and what have you.
Yeah.
So how's life in ODK?
Good. We've had great weather. I don't know if you've had the same. It said it's meant to rain today, but we've been dry. It's been roasting.
It was good last week, but then it was the old scenario, it was too warm for me, it was too hot. This week it's been a kind of mixed bag of a couple of showers, but it's still warm enough, but we're maybe getting hit with another heat wave. I was reading it earlier on.
Well, as long as it's a dry heat wave and not rain. I don't like all this tropical stuff.
Because it makes the grass grow quicker, doesn't it?
It does. All the plants just go poof.
I mean, I cut the grass. I had to steal Laura. There's our Laura. Hey, Doll. You met Laura at Loudon.
Yeah, I met Laura. Yep. How you doing, Laura?
I had to steal their lawnmower last week to get the grass cut. And looking at it, you wouldn't think I touched it last week.
I was the same.
It just kind of sprouts up quicker than my hair does. You know what I mean? But no, I enjoy the sunny weather, getting the vest open, the shorts and that on, and the flip-flops and stuff. But like last week we got friends down south, and one's Taro Tracy. There's a wife in now, even though she's sitting at the end of the hall, and there's Laura's other half, the short chap. With Taro Tracy, she stays in Oxford, and she was saying, we're melting down here, etc. So I googled the weather last week. It was about 8 o'clock at night. It was 33 degrees.
Oh my God, no, it's too hot. Not at night.
About 8 o'clock. It was either 8 or 9 o'clock at night with 33 degrees. I was like, oh no, sod that. You know what I mean? Sod that. But we'll wait and see if another heat wave appears. So what have you been up to? What's been happening?
Not much. Just trying to get the next couple of our events organised. Where are we going? I keep getting the order mixed up. So we've got Stirling Old Town Jail in August, and October we've got Renfrew Victory Baths, and I am in the middle of doing a back and forward with the manager at Maryhill Community Central Halls. I can't remember that name. So we're looking to get there at the start of the year. We were there last year, but the building is massive. So for the duration of the night, we just couldn't cover the full building. So they asked if we'd want to come back, hopefully for an overnight. So we'll see if we can get that sorted. Just need to get dates finalised. Looking at maybe February or March next year. Other than that, the team's just been doing a bit of their own thing. Paul's been going out in his camper van, touring Scotland, try to hit some paranormal places. And at the end of this month, just as a team, we are going to Newsham Park Asylum, I want to say it's called, in Liverpool, I think. It's quite popular. It's I think it was a orphanage. Was it an asylum and then an orphanage, or an orphanage and then an asylum? Either way, we're going there. So we're looking forward to that.
She's looking quite a bit in the calendar. Laura's saying, do you have to advertise he's my other half? The boyfriend won't be happy. Craig is your beloved husband. He has been your beloved husband since you get married. Since your wedding day, dear. So, sorry, but you're stuck with him. What can I say? So you've got quite a bit on the books.
Yeah, and in between that, it's been all the admin stuff. It's taken me. We switched web hosts, web providers, and it's just been an absolute nightmare trying to get that sorted because it didn't go as smoothly as I thought it would. So the website wasn't up and running fully, and we had issues trying to get the online shop, and it was just a nightmare. I'm still having teething problems with it, so I kind of regret switching web hosts, but I think we're fine now. So been doing all of that as well. But that's all the boring admin stuff. Nobody ever wants to hear about that.
No, need ever. See that? I've had various discussion with us. 11 years married, 16 years together, bless.
Oh.
And they're still as happy as the day they were, as they said, start again. They're still as happy as the day they said, I do.
Oh.
See, I've spoken to people about this before with the admin side, and, you know, a lot of people don't realise what goes on behind the scenes. I was sounding like a bloody filmmaker, but behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, the investigations and stuff. You found that?
Aye. So between the social media presence, try to maintain that, and then try to get all the website admin stuff done, and then all your video editing. So you go, I've said it before, you go to an investigation and you could be there for 6, 8 hours, 10 hours or longer, and you could have like 4 or 5 cameras running for that full duration. That's like 50 hours of footage that you now need to go through and like put together for like a small chunk of YouTube time or TikTok time or whatever.
See, Sarah does our editing. I don't have a clue. I'll sit and watch and stuff, and that's it. I don't have a clue how we do it, but I know when we were doing the Wallace Trail, it was like each episode was like 15 minutes roughly long, but it would take hours to put it together. We did have a few arguments, as Laura will testify, Sarah, as well. We did have a few arguments because I was a kind of director sort of Hollywood, you know. I was a director sort of thing, and you've got it in your head how you want it to look, and then, you know, Sarah puts it together and you think, can you change that wee bit there, you know, that 5 seconds or something? And that takes about an hour or two just to change that. And you don't realise that. Laura is chief tea and coffee maker and making sure Scott and Sarah don't kill each other. We have had a few fallouts when putting stuff together, because I don't realise how long it takes to actually sit down and look at it. But, you know, I mean, the admin stuff and, you know, putting investigations, you're putting podcasts together, getting guests, and you need to keep. I like to keep in touch with guests that are coming on. You know, instead of just mailing them once, you know, do you want to come on, you know, on the 10th of June, they say, aye, okay, but then they don't hear from you for weeks until the day before. I think it's important to keep in touch with them and stuff. So that takes up a lot of time as well. Plus, I talk a lot. Sorry, Kathleen, you go.
I was going to say, even just getting dates for venues, so you're relying on other people getting back to you, and like these people have got their own businesses to run, so it could be weeks and weeks before you hear back just to confirm a couple of dates, and then it's weeks and weeks again until you get them finalised. So it's like all that stuff takes time as well.
Or they forget all about you.
Yeah.
And then mail you 6 months later, say, I've just seen this mail, I'm really sorry. You know, I've had that a few times. I'll get back to you, but you don't hear from them for another 6 or 7 months, you know, and the dates kind of came and gone. We've not been out, we're out this Saturday at Loudon, but we've not been out this year as a team. Craig done film and media studies at college. When I was doing films, it took me 6 hours to edit a short 3-minute sequence. It does. It takes blooming ages, but see, we've not been out as a team this year. This will be the first time we've been out. I've been out twice with Spig, but it's just, you know, the weather plays a part, and then it's just finding finding the time and a babysitter and a dog sitter now as well. You know,
How did you go on when you were out?
We went to we done Caldwell about oh, here we go. Let's say happy birthday. It's Laura's birthday on Saturday, and we're going to Caldwell. We're not going to Caldwell, going to Loudon.
Happy birthday when it comes.
But the thing is, I said to Laura and Sarah, you know, you want, because we're going to be a guy from Ayrshire Ghost Hunts. And she's like, next Saturday, go to Loudon. Oh, yes. And then Laura brings it up, you know, it's my birthday on Saturday. You did agree to go out, you know. Thank you very much. Caldwell, we did Caldwell about 4 years ago. We spent about 2 months doing it. Have you ever done Caldwell?
No, where's that?
It sits between, you know, the back road out of Barhead, going towards Nielsen.
Yeah.
It sits on that road. Oh. It's kind of halfway between Lupton and Barhead. But you could easily miss it because there's only one gate into it. You could easily drive by and miss it totally. It's a 280-acre estate. The house itself was built in 1720, 1723 by the Muir family, who were quite a well-off family back then. They lived in it up until, I'm going to get the dates wrong, I bet you. They lived in there was 2 mansions, one facing the other.
Because one mansion isn't enough, you know, you need to have 2 to live in.
Well, that's, I know. But the colonel, he was a colonel, and he decided that the big mansion was too expensive to live in, basically. So they moved into the other one. It got bought over in 1923 by the Govan Health Board. And there's 2 different stories. One is it got turned into a care home for the elderly. The other is it was a psychiatric hospital for children. And through our investigations, we're leading away more towards the psychiatric place for children. But we get loads of evidence there. So I went back with Spig. Craig was there about 2 months ago or something. And we got a lot of good EVPs, clear EVPs. There was a girl in the chat had said, you know, I'm picking up the name Helen. And so we asked, you know, who's Helen? Who's Helen here? And we got a clear EVP, a woman saying, I'm Helen.
Wow.
You know, so it's glorious. You need to go. You need to call it. It's the most amazing place, activity-wise. It's out of this world. You need to go. I'll mail you directions and stuff like that. But it's when you find, before we done it, we couldn't find anybody else that had did it. You know, paranormal-wise. I'm not saying that they had, but we looked up Facebook, YouTube, but we couldn't find anything. And so we found that when we went, we get tons of evidence. But the records were sealed. They're sealed in the Mitchell Library. They were sealed in 1985 for 75 years. So there's still a few years to go before you can get a hold of the records. But I'll send you photographs in that. But it's an amazing place. There's another 4 or 5 different buildings on the actual estate. But they're all ruins now, you know, they're all abandoned now, but you can still go in and have a wander about and do some investigating. Because, I mean, where you are, there's really not that many places up your end.
There's nothing, see, like, there's nothing worth, I don't mean nothing worth going to it, there's nothing structurally there anymore. It's all gone. Like, there used to be hundreds of castles here, and they've been built over, or they're just, when I say ruins, they're not even ruins, they're like a pile of rocks in the ground. Unless you knew your history, you wouldn't even know it was a castle at one point. There was a lot of watchtowers and stuff like that as well, but they're all gone. Like, nothing was kept. that should have been really, but anything historically significant that's just been sold to developers, and it's all housing estates.
Aye, that's the one, because I used to live there. I used to live in Greenhouse.
Mm.
And I'm going back when Greenhouse was just built.
Yeah.
There was brand new houses and stuff, and they called it the Glasgow Overspill. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember that. It was
Yep.
Glasgow Overspill gets put in the greenhouse, and there was an old farm, because where we were right on the country basically, and there was this old farm. We used to call it the Haunted Farm, and we would go up at night time and stuff like that. But no, it's all changed now. You know, they took so much away and just built even places we used to play. I Google map it every now and again, just have a wee nosy. And you know, there used to be a swing park, there's now a house in the estate and stuff like that. And it's a shame, really. You know, I spent days, weeks, months researching the place, and yes, it's got basic history you can access, but there's no ghost stories attached, no haunting reported. It's all very weird. It's a kind of, the history on it's kind of hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and say the records are sealed, but it's definitely worth going up for an investigation. But it's the kind of place you need. We would probably need to take you up if you've not been there before, because one, as I say, you could easily drive by it. There's only one gate that leads in, and it's on a kind of main road, so it's very, very easy to miss. And you'd be better somebody showing you, because the house itself is still intact, but there's a few areas that are a bit dodgy. So you're best getting somebody to show you. You know, that's a no-go area, that's fine. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're better kind of doing it that way, and then just go for it yourself, basically. But no, it's something the same as it was actually built by the same guy that built Dalquahan.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
And there was somewhere else he built as well. The other weird thing we found was that spirit would reveal certain aspects, that I'd come home and find that information, but previous to that, nothing. It's almost like spirit is in control of you. The other weird thing is we found spirit would they would only tell you certain things, hear what they want you to hear, if that makes sense. I realise the kind of place you really need to just go and investigate and find out. Spigger done it quite a few times, and every time we went, we've had activity.
Brilliant.
It's got a massive basement. Craig and I were down in the basement. Now, there's no power goes into this building. There's nothing. And there's no phone mast or anything nearby. We put the K2 meter down in the basement, and it was going nuts up to red constantly in
That's
the basement.
interesting. I wonder why that particular part of the building.
There was it was no phones, because we stood back, you know, you did the old test, you walk back, and it was no phones, and there's no electricity or nothing, but the meter constantly stayed at red, and we couldn't work out why.
Interesting.
And even the lads, you say they get an eerie feeling from the basement. We picked up a guy who likes to stay in the basement, basically. And I've seen shadows and, you know, all the kind of usual stuff. But no, definitely, you need to arrange ways to get you over.
Because it's not far either.
No, it's not actually for where you are to there, you're talking maybe half an hour. You know, if you come out of the back road.
Aye, yep.
Maybe about half an hour, because it's about half an hour to here. Experience those girls had male voice shouting at. Aye, that's right. One night we were doing an overnight there, and in the middle there's a road goes round in the middle of the estate, and so what we decided to do is we left the girls in the house, and we decided to walk around the circle, and about 3/4 of the way round, we heard this car horn going constant. And at first we thought it was coming through the road, but we thought, no, we're too far away from the road. And then we realised that's one of your cars. What had happened was it was the lassies were at one of the motors dinging the horn for us to come back. They'd been in the house and they'd heard a loud male voice telling them to F off.
Wow.
So we went in, me and this other guy went in, we went down the basement and we split up. There was nobody there. And there's only one way in and out of this place. So if somebody had, they would have been seen. So they were pretty shook up with that. And so I said, they were outside, and I said, right, take 10, 15 minutes, have a fag, cup of coffee, whatever. While we were standing outside, we heard footsteps inside. So we ran back in, but there was absolutely nobody there. But the lassies all get scared out of the place. So
definitely need to go back then.
Aye, well worth a. You're no easily spooked, so you know it's definitely well worth a visit. You ever came upon a location like that that's no been an untouched gem sort of thing?
That's off the top of my head. Well, the community central halls, as much as it's still an active community centre and hall, they were never they never had any paranormal teams in. So it's still, they've got like a nursery and like they have dance classes and all that stuff, and they've got offices, but there was never anything like what we do in the building. Like they'd never had an investigation. It was the staff that asked us to investigate or do an event there because they had experienced stuff, but they'd never had anyone in to investigate it. So I'd say that's probably one of the best ones. It's like fresh hunting ground, so to speak. And it was good. We get a lot of good activity. That the staff were able to like verify in a sense that they're like, yeah, this is. So we didn't get them to say anything before the investigation. So they knew what they'd experienced before, but they didn't let on until after we'd done the investigation. And then after, so I think one of the main things we picked up on was the spirit of an older man. And one of our mediums was like, I think he died of a heart attack, like I'm getting like chest pain, but he really, really loves his job. I wish I could remember his name. Like dead happy fellow. And after it, the staff were like, that was like so and so, he was the caretaker here like years and years ago. And he did die of a heart attack. And I can't remember, but I think they might have said he either took not well whilst at work, but didn't die at work. But that's when like he first took not well and died elsewhere. I don't think he died on the premises, but they're like he had his heart attack started whilst he was on shift. I'm sure that's what they said, but they knew exactly who it was straight away. But they were like, yeah, we've felt a presence, and we've just always assumed it was him. And then the medium was able to say, yeah, it's him. And he just loves being around, and he loves still doing his rounds with you, and he falls. One of the other caretakers was saying she'd often feel a presence with her, but not like a bad presence. She just always felt there was someone with her. And the medium was like, yeah, that's him. He's just coming along and he likes to help you with your shift. So that was nice. That was a nice spirit. There was other parts of the building, but it was, it's like shadows and noises and banging. But again, the building, it was just so big, we couldn't cover the full place. But it'll be interesting when we go back, because being one of the first folk to investigate it, as far as I'm aware, it'll be interesting to see if the activity stays the same or if it changes or it goes away. Because I suppose if no one's ever investigated there before, no one's really made contact with the spirits. So it might be new to them. They might be like, who are these people? Why are they trying to talk to us? Like, who are these strangers coming into our place? But that's probably one of the main places I can think of that's been untouched.
And it might be that, that they're happy that you've came.
Yeah.
this is where we think about Loudon and Caldwell. Laura says, I have been back. Laura and I went up a few weeks ago now. I have been back. I love the place. It's so much more to give. We feel there's a lot more to come for Caldwell. But I'll come back to that. But like I say, we found that with Loudon. You know, you yourselves, you've been to Loudon Village as well, that the spirits were quite willing to. Mind you, saying that, it took about a year, you know, but obviously it's a year to us, but it might not be any kind of time at all to them.
Yeah.
But as if nobody had bothered to visit them before,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and somebody finally came to speak to them.
Yeah.
And that's how they were kind of, I say, Loudon. So the chances are at that place, it could be that as well. I'm not saying it is, you know, obviously none of us really know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be a simple case of, well, they've came to speak to us. Let's,
Yeah.
you know, kind of suss them out first and then, you know, take it from there. I mean, as Laura says, we think Caldwell's got so much more to give. We're convinced there's graves there because there used to be a church or a chapel on the estate. We're convinced that there's graves there somewhere. We've never ever found them, but we're convinced of them. But I mean, a quick example is when we were investigating, we always picked up on this woman who seemed to be kind of an authority figure, and we called her the matron because we didn't have a name for her, you know. So we just ended up calling her the matron. But when we went to Spig a couple of months ago, this woman Helen seemed to be quite prominent. So I was saying to Craig and Rigger that, you know, is it possible that Helen is the matron?
Mm-hmm.
Is the woman that we picked up before? Because when she says, I'm Helen, it was quite, you know, I'm the boss kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's something we might kind of look into. But no, when you get places like that, especially Mary Hill in Glasgow as well, you know, prime real estate in Mary Hill. We have for Glasgow originally. So it could be that you get back time and time again, you're going to build up a good relationship with them.
I think people forget that Glasgow isn't. It's the same as everywhere. It's not always been the town that you see. Like back in the day, it was vast countryside, and just a couple of wee settlements dotted along the Clyde, and there was like the rich folk had their bigger houses, but all that's gone as well. Apart from a few things left in the city centre of the original architecture, like 1700s, if it's not been set on fire. So from the Clyde and then like going out the way, all that just used to be country and fields. Like Provan Hall, I'm sure was like one of the hunting lodges for the Lord. Was it the Lord Provost? And that's somewhere in, is that Easterhouse? That's Easterhouse to everyone. Like, that's Glasgow, that's the town. But back then, that wasn't the town. That was like, you'd go there for your holidays. But to us now, it's all just a big sprawling city centre. So when people think, oh, why will that place be haunted? Because the land is ancient. Like, it's not what it is now. There was lots of things there before. There was sometimes nothing there before. It was just land and countryside. And now it's a big city. So, like, even if the building was built in, like, I don't know, the 30s, and there's been no recorded deaths from that building, that doesn't mean there wasn't anything before then. So you just never know, like, what spirits might pop along. And then, are spirits transient? Do they only stay in the one location? Or are they aware of people trying to communicate, so they travel towards you? So, like, when you're at Loudon or Caldwell, are spirits aware that you're there, so they come to seek you out because they know you're looking for communication? It's obviously all theory, we never know, but how do we know there's nothing stopping them?
No, see, I love it. I'm glad you said that, Kat, because at Caldwell, it's actually on our TikTok. I think she said that her TikTok. I call her the Whispering Lady. I think I've told you about this before. It was a woman's voice. We were just sitting in the stairwell, and it was a woman's voice came through very, very clear. It was a weird one. there was about 10 of us there, and everybody was hearing what they described as a sharp take a breath. I never heard that. So we're sitting on the stairs, and I heard this woman's voice, a whispering. After I call her the whispering lady, and everybody reacted at the same time. Now, I thought they were reacting to the woman's voice. They thought I was reacting to the sharp take a breath. You with me so far?
Yes.
So we were reacting to two different things, and we all said, what was that? Did you hear that? And then I mentioned the woman's voices. I never heard that. So we played it back. Luckily, we had it recorded. We played it back, and we played this woman over and over and over again. And we thought it was Latin, but we could not make out what she was saying. And I sent it to, I don't know, 10 or 12 different people. Everybody came back and says, that's not through the app, that's in real time. She was there beside you, but we don't know what she was saying. It was Jim Martin, who, for the Spirit Realm Network, he does all the audio, and he's right into all that kind of stuff. He says, I'll come on the show and I'll break it down for you. So he did. And he says, the woman's asking, is your light better now? And he says, if you watch your footage, your EMF meter goes to red. And then you move it along a wee bit, and it goes to red again. And then she's asking, is your light better now?
Interesting.
But what makes it even more interesting is one night, one of the investigations we done with Spigot Loudon, I had the headphones and the blindfold on. And I get the same woman with the same settings at Loudon. The Loudon's about, I don't know, about 30 plus mile for Caldwell.
Yeah.
But nothing freaks me out. Everybody tell you, I don't get freaked out, but I had to take the headphones and the blindfold off because I thought, after that, I've just heard that woman's voice again. As plain as day. So what you're saying there, Kat, about early transit, can they go from A to B to C? I believe they can. I believe that spirits can attach to you, not in a bad way, but take a liking to you and maybe follow you about. You know what I mean? Where Scott's house is now, there was a farm. It was there at least 60 years, I know. Paddy, Scott's dog, I swear, sees things we can't. I mean, with the farm being so long, it wouldn't surprise me. We're right on the edge of Kilmarnock. After the house, there's nothing. And there's Craig takes Paddy, I take Paddy out as well. And sometimes he does act a wee bit weird. There's one certain bit down the bottom of the hill that he'll kind of dig his paws in, and he'll know get near. And you kind of need to coax him. Attachment, let's not go. We think Laura's got an attachment because every time she's in the back of her car, the middle seat sensor goes after the seatbelt. And it's happened in 2 or 3, I think it's three different cars it's happened in. So we know it's not a fault in the car because it's happened in 3 different cars. So this whoever it is faltered about for quite some time. But I believe spirits can go for A, B to wherever they want, basically.
Yeah. Well, if you lived in a realm where you're aware of our existence, but we're not so much aware of their existence, it would be really, really frustrating if they were trying to communicate and they can't get through to us. So when they find someone who is trying to communicate back or trying to make initial contact with them, then they are likely to travel, they are likely to seek those people out. And I think it's the same goes for legitimate mediums, that they could be anywhere, and if a spirit knows that person happens to have the ability to communicate with them, whether it's through mediumship or paranormal investigating, the spirits are more likely going to seek that person out then to make contact. Because it would be so frustrating to not be able to make contact. So when they finally find someone who is at least trying, like to hear them or understand them or interpret their messages, then they're going to want to hang about with you. They're going to want to actively seek you out and find you.
It's like, it's like having a massive, big, thick window, and you're on one side and somebody's on the other side. You see in the films, they're banging on the window and stuff like that, and you can't hear them. It could be, it could be something along those lines. Spirits banging on this window or door, and we're kind of we can't hear it. But then you find that one person that notices, and they say, "Wait a minute," like that film. With Ricky Gervais, is it Afterlife or something? Where he's a dentist and he dies or something, he comes back. But I must say, I don't feel it's a bad attack. I've never felt threatened or at harm. In fact, I'm a happy wee soul and like to think it's someone we can have to. Possibly it's just somebody, or a family member, something like that, just keeping an eye out. But it's the same as, it's just spirits can come. I believe spirits can come back whenever they want. Some people, you hear these people saying, "Oh, I wonder what happens when you die." I believe you don't go anywhere unless you choose to. Do you know what I mean? Because you get these people. I don't know. No doubt you've seen them on TikTok and Facebook, and they'll say, "Right, we're going into this house and we're going to send this spirit into the light."
Yeah, like we don't have the power to send anyone anywhere. Like it's up to them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if someone walked into your house just now and was like, "I'm going to send you down the road to get some shopping," you're like, "No, I'm sitting in my house, thanks very much." Nobody's sending you anywhere. You go when you want to go. Do you know what I mean? What they can do is if there is a spirit who is genuinely lost or confused or misunderstood their passing, you could advise them and give them guidance on, by the way, just to let you know, this happened to you, and this is now where you are, or you are no longer living or in the living realm. It's up to you what you want to do with that. So you could advise them and guide them, but you can't be right away into the light. You could make them aware that should they choose to, they can move on, but you can't be like, "Right, I'm going to send you there now. Away you go. See you later." That's
I've seen a few folk doing it, and it kind of annoys me. And you think, no, just leave them alone.
I think it goes back to, you've seen it as well on like socials and stuff. People, they talk to the spirits as if they're stupid. They use baby talk and are very patronising sometimes, and they forget that these spirits were people. They lived an entire life and have generations of experience, and they might have been spirits for hundreds of years, so have more experience than we do. Like, but they patronise them and talk down to them. I'm like, just talk to them like they're not. Talk to them like you would talk to anyone else. But they're like, oh, Isa, I'm here to help you cross. And Isa's like 400 years old and she knows more about life than we do. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, or Isa was a 90-year-old woman for Govan who ran Govan back in the day. And
aye. And she bought, who are these half-wits telling me what to do?
Aye, you just keep going, day one. You see all the time, it's condescending, and and as you say, here's a question to you. If a spirit passes over, say they're a 20-year-old, and they pass over, do you think they've got the option to age or stay at that age?
I think
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that goes into the whole realms of, is time the same? Which I don't think it is. Does time pass at the same rate that we understand that it passes? So I think if they wanted to, they could age backwards. Like they could choose to portray themselves as a younger self. So if someone, for example, who was a terminal patient, and they were elderly and they were on their deathbed, and they passed over, when they come back, or if they want to, the way they want to present themselves, they're going to naturally choose a time in their life where they were their healthiest and fittest, and present that way. They're not going to go to people and present themselves as they were on their deathbed. So I think it can go the other way. But I don't think it can be like if you passed when you were like, say 15, tragic, but you will remain 15 or younger. I don't think you could portray yourself as older, because that version of you never had the chance to exist.
Laura's saying, I believe in God brought us up the ideal of heaven and hell. Heaven's to be your ideal. Hell, a place of torment and pain. It's not like that. Heaven is a choice. Hell is not a bad place. It's still more to come. I was here, Catherine and Martin Gibson on the other night, and saying that the only thing about YouTube is you're limited to how many words you can type. It's just not as beautiful as heaven. I don't know with the whole heaven and hell thing, the chapel at Caldwell was a tin church or wooden missionary hut. Don't think there would be any burials. I don't know, I don't know. We were convinced when we were there for the 2 months that there was, and we got a queer EVP. We were in one of the areas where we think the church was, and we asked, are there graves here? And we got a queer EVP came back saying down here, down there.
When did you say it was a hospital or a psychiatric unit at one point?
From what we can tell, it was a psychiatric hospital for children, and there was a hospice there as well for them.
Do you know what time period that was?
It was bought over in 1923 by the Government Health Board, so it would have been between 1923 and 1985.
So there is potentially a chance that the burials were related to it being a health facility and not related to the end of the church, because it was quite common for back then, potentially, especially if it was a psychiatric unit, unclaimed patients, they would just bury them in the grounds. And often they would be unmarked graves, and it's been notorious. Like there's quite scandalous cases in Kilmarnockshire where kids were just dumped in mass graves, which I think all over Britain, actually, it had all over the world it's happened. So potentially there is burials that are unmarked because it was psychiatric patients or the residents that were elderly.
See, for what we know, there's the big chap in now. There's Rigger from Spig.
Hi.
He calls me Big Cheese. The guy's no right now. For Glasgow. I've done Caldwell with Rigger as well. So he'll tell you what it's like. We have a choice in death, move on or stay in the life realm. If you're happy in the life realm, then why would you move on? I'd be waiting until my friends and family were where they wanted and join. There'll be another bit coming. So I've got another question. I used to do, last year I used to do random questions on Facebook. It was just things that popped into my head. Right, 2 seconds, I get these straightened out. I'll be waiting till my friends and family were where they wanted and join them in everlasting. I believe we see something in that energy. For what Sarah's saying, for what I've researched, I can't find any info on a church or chapel on the grounds. I mean, we could be wrong. You know yourself, Kat, you go to locations and, you get bits and pieces of evidence, you want to call it that, and sometimes you can draw the wrong conclusion, but I don't know, we just know there'd be some kind of church or chapel there. But Sarah says, she can't find any info, but then again, that's not to say that there wasn't. Because I say a lot of the records are sealed in the Mitchell Library, and who knows what's in these records. And I think Caldwell was that other kind of place where, families would take their kids and just kind of, right, you take him, you take her, because we can't do anything where, keep them. I know in America, Edinburgh Manor, with Cat and Will Armstrong, they worked there in Iowa. That used to happen a lot there. People would just families would take, not just children, but adults as well. They would take family members that, there might have been something wrong with them, or the families just couldn't afford to keep them anymore, so they would take them to a Edinburgh Manor and just forget about them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a case, when these people, kids, whoever it was, passed it, there was nobody to claim them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just, buried. But just what Laura was saying about waiting on people to join you, here's a question for you. I've asked a few folk this. Now, as far as we know, spirit doesn't have the same concept of time as we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you get a guy, you get a married couple and the husband passes, say in the year 2000, he passes away. And his wife passes in the year 2010, 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's 10 years for us, or for her, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But is it 10 years for him? Or is it instantaneous? Do you think?
I don't think it's instantaneous, but it's potentially, it could be shorter. It might be longer. I don't think it would be instantaneous, based on, well, no evidence at all, because we'll never know until we pass over ourselves. But if it was, I think we would at least have had a communication from spirit. So mediums for decades have, in fact, centuries. There's all sorts of divination and mediumship going on for centuries, who have tried to communicate with spirits, or have communicated with spirits through different means, and at not any point has anyone said to them anything about how the physics of time works, other than it passes differently. So for something that would be, I think, pretty relevant is, no time passes for us at all, I think they would say. And yeah, also, I think there's more times if spirit have came forward and said, it's not your time. So see, for a near-death experience, for example, it's common for them to be told, they told me it's not my time, I still have time, like X amount of time, or we're waiting for you. To use words like, it's not my time and we're waiting for you, would suggest that there is a period of time that they experience on this, like, spirit realm, where they are having to wait, and it isn't instantaneous. I think if it was instantaneous, they would just be like, I'll see you in 2 minutes. Do you know what I mean? But then maybe they don't say that, because then it would freak us out, thinking, oh my God, I've only got 2 minutes left. Do you know what I mean?
I get what I get what you mean. No, I don't know. It's just one of these thoughts that pop into your head. No doubt you get them as well.
Mm-hmm. I've got endless thoughts. I often wonder as well, for people who it's not so common. Mediumship and stuff has become quite commercialised, which I get, because people want to speak to their loved ones. Back in like the early days of mediumship, and when it was really the spiritual movement was really picking up and kicking off, it was more leaning towards, let's communicate with spirit and learn from spirit. Let's find out what they can tell us about the afterlife. We've moved away from that, and it's more like, I want to know about my ancestors. I want to know about my great gran. Like, I want to know she's okay. It's a lot of it now is about what to communicate with loved ones, and not so much tell me what it's like. Tell me how time passes. Tell me, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Like, for folk to have the ability to communicate with spirit, there isn't a lot of forthcoming from spirit, in a sense, with regards to how it works. Yeah, but is that because, is there rules? Are they not allowed to tell us? Are we not ready to learn? Is it something that would be so incomprehensible to us that they're like, there's no point in telling you, because you just wouldn't understand. You need to wait till you experience it. And then that's where the people who experience having near-death experiences, their information is so important and vital, because they're some of the few people that have actually got to touch the other side and come back. But they all seem to have the same experience. And is that because they're only allowed to see so much? They're only allowed to pass on a wee bit of information. And is that just because the rest of us were not ready to understand it yet? The world's not ready for it.
That's a good point. I'll stick these comments up first and then come back to that. Rigger's saying Colwell's really good location. We've had some real interesting experiences over the years. It's an amazing location. We're seeing history, the story of missing child, which was apparently say so, but I managed to get evidence. I'm not sure what she's meaning with that one. Time is a man-made thing. Society tells us work, eat, sleep, certain times animals little and hungry, sleep when needy. Spirit does not need nor recognise time as man-made, but I believe spirit gave a concept of when we will arrive, if that makes sense. Spirit have a concept. I think that's meant to be of when we arrive. So I what Laura's saying basically is, I don't know about this one, but I don't know what that's meant to me. That, you know, even though we don't know when we're going to go, spirit does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you were saying, that it's not your time yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that would suggest that spirit knows when your time is, when you're going to be ready to take the next step, basically. But, you know, the near-death experiences, I spoke to people before that reckon that there are certain rules, laws, whatever you want to call them, about what spirit can tell us, what we're allowed to find out, you know. And I don't think we've found it all out yet.
No.
You know, it's always, I don't, nobody's ever sat down and had a one-to-one with a spirit conversation, you know, back and forward. It's always been kind of bits and pieces, basically.
Yeah.
And as you say, these days mediumship is mere folk. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm friends with quite a few good mediums, but people who go to mediums are wanting to know, you know, is their gran okay? Is their mum and dad okay? You know, what's going to happen in the future? Rather than ask, well, what's heaven like? Is there a heaven? What's on the other side of the light? Can we come back? I mean, I believe that we can go into the light, but then we can come back and forward as we please. You know, in visitation.
So I remember reading, it must be one of the many books I've got floating about the house. A medium was saying, so people often ask, like, what is a ghost? What's the difference between like a ghost and like someone that you contact on the other side? And the way they explained it was, a ghost is more like someone who has died, but they haven't crossed to the light yet. So their energy is not as strong. Whereas once you cross over, you have the freedom to come and go as you please. But for whatever reason, that act of crossing over, it gives you've got a more powerful energy. I don't know if it's because you can learn from people on the other side, you can learn from ancestors or whatever it is. But for the ones who haven't crossed over, it's just them themselves. They've got nobody to learn from. They've got nobody to guide them. They're still here as spirits, but they can't draw on the same energy that people who have crossed over. And so they say crossing over isn't final. Like, it's not, you can't come back. It's like, it's actually better for you to cross over because it makes it easier for you to come back. You're stronger and have better guidance, and you've got more like spiritual help. Whereas the ones that haven't crossed over yet, they're just kind of floating about lost themselves. Whether there's any truth that, I don't know, but I thought that's quite a good concept. Like, it kind of explains a few things within the spirit world, or the paranormal world. So I think you're right in what you're saying, that once you cross over, like, you can come and go as you please. It's just some spirits might have that fear of crossing over because they think it's final, where it's not. Like, you have the ability to come and go.
Aye, there's a fear. I wish that these comments. I know that Laura's probably knew there was a girl. The girl who went missing from Colwell was found deceased at Colwell. It was hearsay, which Laura found out through a police officer. There was a story about a young girl. I say young girl. I think she was about 18. She managed to get out of the house one night. This is where we think it was. This is another reason we think it was a psychiatric hospital. That she managed to get out of the house, and it's a 280-acre estate, so it's a fair size, and there's a lot of wooded areas in it. She managed to get out of the house and she was found deceased the next morning in the woods.
Jeez, oh.
We're not sure what part of the woods it was, but she was found on the estate. But Laura's saying that she found it, spoke to a police officer who backed it up, saying that it did actually happen. So that kind of leans towards the sort of psychiatric side of it. You know, the doors would be locked and stuff like that. Rigger's saying, I mean, what do you do with people like this, Cat? Scott, spending time with you as well. Rigger was my best man as well. You know, chose me to say spending time with you is like heaven. You need to try living a 3-minute walk from him, Rigger, then your attitude shall change. Love you, Flivver. So this is the banter I need to put up with sometimes. You know. But I think there's a few reasons why people won't pass over, won't go into the light, whatever you want to call it. One, being because, as you say, because they think it's final. Once you go, you can't come back. Another reason being that they don't know what's on the other side. So they're weary of walking through that door because they don't know who's there, what's there. And another reason is maybe that they don't want to leave their family or their friends, whoever it is they've left behind. You know, they're scared in case they lose that connection.
Or
it might sound daft. I don't know.
Or they don't want to face the consequences of the person that they were on and whilst they were living.
Aye, that's why they don't know what, that comes under, they don't know what's on the other side of the light. Is it heaven? Is it hell? Is it, fire and brimstone and lakes of fire and all that kind of stuff? I don't believe it. I mean, nothing against the church or the Bible or anything, religious, but I don't believe there's a kind of, heaven up there and a hell down there.
No, it's all the same place. It's just different parts of the same place that you go to.
I believe we make our own, create our own hell. I've got another question. Yes, love you, Petal. It's an ongoing thing with Laura and I. She calls me Flower, I call her Petal, or it's the other way around. I can't really remember. But do you think spirits hold? Exactly, Catherine. Here's one for you. Now, in physical life, we can all hold grudges, So say you get two guys in the physical that fell out over money, whatever, one passes, and then sometime later the other one passes. Now, if they meet up on the other side, do you think they still hold that grudge?
I think it would all depend. I think you could definitely still hold grudges as spirit. I think you can still hold on to anger. It all depends on what the circumstances are. So if it was something that after you've passed is very trivial, like money, for example, money has only got value because here in the physical we give it value. It's like everything, we give everything value. Once you pass over, anything physical loses all value. So for something trivial like that, they probably move on and not hold a grudge. They'll be like, oh God, we were so stupid. But I think for other things, there's like that incites a lot of emotion. Definitely they can still hold anger and grudges. But part of, at least I believe, part of when you move over is a learning process, and to learn and like grow as a person, because you're still a person, you're just no longer a physical person. But it's like almost like I don't want to say ascension because that makes it sound like really spiritual, but when you pass over, you're still learning, you're still developing, and it's up to you whether you can learn to forgive and let go of those grudges or whatever anger it is that you hold, or do you still hold on to it when you're there? But that will then dictate your experience in the afterlife. If you still hold on to that anger and negative energy, it's going to make your experience in the afterlife a negative one because you can't move on. You're still holding on to something that's tying you down to the physical realm that we're in. Whereas if you can learn to let go, if you can learn to forgive, and like move on from the negative emotions that you had, well, in the living realm, then it will make your afterlife more peaceful. It will be a more enjoyable experience. It's like what I was saying, you create your own heaven. But if you're still so full of negativity, you are living in your own hell. So it really depends what that argument was or what that negative emotion was. The stronger the negative emotion, the stronger the negative lived experience you have here. If you still carry that over, then the worse your experience is going to be there. And I think the harder it is for you to move on and reflect. Even in life, like, people are like wronged and they find it really hard to forgive. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things you can do. And it does create a lot of negativity for people, but once you can learn to forgive, you become lighter. Like your life starts to get better.
It's like a load off.
Yeah, but it's such a hard thing to do, which I totally understand. Like everyone can definitely hold grudges, and again, it depends what was done to you. But having a better afterlife definitely is linked to being able to forgive. But that comes back to time as well. So in that afterlife, you might still hold that grudge. You might hold it for centuries because time is different there. You might live for centuries, or not live, but you might experience centuries passing holding that grudge. And it's not until maybe like, I don't know, 500 years that you've been deceased that you finally learn to let go. And then your experience can get better. And that could potentially explain why you have negative spirits and you have like positive spirits. The negative ones are still holding on to their the negative experiences that they had while still living, whereas the more positive ones have learned to let go and move on and deal with it.
Aye, as it is here, like Laura's saying, I believe they recognise each other's energy, but holding on to that bad energy is meaningless in the spirit realm. You don't learn, you move on. I totally get what you mean. If you've got a grudge, you hold on, it's going to weigh you down. In the next life, basically. It's still going to be there, and it's going to eat away, even though you haven't got a body, but it's going to eat away at you. Whereas if you let it go on this side, then when you get to the other side, then there's nothing eating at you. Your pals again, basically.
Yeah.
If you bump into this guy, but there's there's so many questions. What's it like when you get to the other side? Is your mum and dad standing there waiting on you? Your gran, whoever. I've actually one person, says, we were in a conversation with Elvis. I'm a big Elvis fan as well, and he says to me, "Do you think you'll get to meet Elvis finally when you die?" I thought, well, I don't know. You don't know. Some people say, how big's the spirit world? I say, well, it's not got any size. It just goes on and on and on, But something that you think you'll get to meet Elvis? What kind of questions that? I don't know. Maybe. Forgiveness is hard, but in order to move on as a person, you need to let go. You need to forgive. Otherwise, you harbour the bad energy for life. You don't forget, but you forgive. But as you say, Laura were talking the other night about, I might get this wrong, Laura, so if I do correct me, or B, if you're still watching, about do we get to choose what clothes we wear? Or do we wear the same clothes that we died in? Something like that they were asking. I thought, that's actually, what happens if you pass away in hospital and you get one of their gowns on?
I think that's when it comes back to you can present yourself as your best self, the best version of you when you were living. So otherwise, the majority of the spirit world would just be cutting about in pajamas and hospital gowns. But then, is it just clothes, or is it also how you died? If you were in a horrific train crash, you're not going to be still all mangled in the spirit world. You're going to have composed
Aye.
like a new like form. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be still having the diseased state that you had when you passed. So I think the same goes for like clothing. Like you can wear whatever you want. if you want to wear anything, maybe they do all cut about naked. I don't know.
You imagine that? And naked women. I mean, that's like burying, seeing your mother and all that naked, not with your mum and she's ball up naked. Do you imagine that would send you back here, wouldn't it? I'm off. You know, I'm getting back through that light. You know, no offence, mum, but no, you know, no, no thanks. But I mean, another thing I used to, and some of it is that kind of daft wee questions, but you think, well, you know, we don't have a body when we pass over. So when you're standing there in spirit and you hold up your hand, well, you think you're holding up your hand, what do you actually see? Do you see a hand? Or these are kind of the stupid things that pop into my head.
I think you will see. So we've got a perception of what humans look like and what animals look like. So if you were to then pass over and your form be completely different, you would freak out. You'd be like, what's going on? What is happening? So I think we still see as we saw. Otherwise, it would be such a scary experience. Maybe as you go on and you learn, maybe you do ascend and become different spiritual beings. I don't know. Like, well, if you believe in angels, the angels in on Christmas cards aren't what angels are supposed to look like. Angels are meant to have like be shaped like wheels and have 32 eyes, but we give them human form so as they don't scare us. And in some cases of paranormal experiences, when they have supposedly communicated with these beings, they've asked that question and been like, how are you an angel? And they're like, I present to you as what I know, what you expect to see. If I was to present to you as my true form, you would be terrified. So I think part of the afterlife, things are presented to us as we expect to see them. So if we expect to see ourselves and others as how we are in the living realm, then that's how we will see ourselves in the afterlife. And it's the same for like whatever other spirit entities exist. They will present in a way that we will understand.
See, it's fascinating. Laura saying, clothes are man-made. We don't need them in spirit. We choose to show ourselves as a recognisable form, so human recognises who it is. But it's fascinating. I mean, there's that many questions that have never been answered. It's like, and I asked Rigger this, I'm dragging Charlie on one night and I asked him this about dreams. We've all had dreams where we've been in different places in the same dream. You know, could be you're on holiday, then you're in work, then you're in the house. You know, do you know what I mean? But we don't remember getting from A to B to C.
Yeah, it's like a quick scene change.
You're lying in a sun lounge on Tenerife and then bang, you're sitting in your living room. But there's no in between. So, I mean, people, as we were saying earlier on about spirit being able to travel, is it like that for spirit? You know, they can go from A, B to C, but they don't need to travel. So us having the dreams, does that give us some kind of indication of what it's like for spirit, you know, when we get there for us to... Am I making any sense?
Yes.
Just another thing, another daft thing just pops out. I could be lying in my bed at 2, 3 in the morning and something just pops into my head, you know. But I found the dream thing, I thought, well, and is that maybe, I mean, when we're dreaming, we're not aware. 9 times out of 10, you're not aware that you're actually dreaming. So is that similar to, we've all heard the stories of people passing over and they've not been aware that they've actually passed. Is that kind of the same? We don't know we're dreaming, so does that give us an indication why some of these spirits don't know that they're actually spirits? I think I know what I mean. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it the same sort of experience? Like what we experience when we dream? Is that what they're experiencing when they've passed? The difference being that they don't come out of that. We wake up to the dream. Do you know what I mean? So they're kind of stuck there, like not really knowing what's going on.
And they're not aware that they've actually passed. So do dreams actually give us some kind of, insight
into
of
what they experience?
It's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Does that sound daft?
My dreams are a bit boring. I hope the afterlife's a lot more exciting.
I'm not going to ask you about your dreams, Kat. You're saying, why is that possible? Why is that possible? Apparitions captured are always slim. Why has there never been an overweight apparitions captured morbidly obese?
Because they present themselves as they want to be, potentially. So their avatar will be one of perfection. They want to show themselves as their ideal version of health. If that makes sense.
It does. It makes total sense to me. I'll tell you what, because my dad, he passed in 1992 with cancer. No, 92, 95, sorry. And he went for, being a fine figure of a man, basically, to this, he was like that, sunken cheeks. It was horrible. But I seen a medium in Shawlands years and years ago. I'm not going to get, but she told me about 4 or 5 different people. One of them was my dad, and she described him doing a taste. He's very Hollywood looking. Everything's perfect. His hair's perfect. He's got, shirt and tie and that on. My dad was kind of like a Jack Nicholson lookalike.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always, he would come in for work and he would put a shirt and tie on.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he was just lounging, he was always perfect. It always had to be perfection in his appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But when he passed, obviously it was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
But he showed himself to this medium as this, as he used to be.
Yep.
Maybe in his 30s, 40s kind of thing. So I can relate to that they show themselves how they're most happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you never get a chunky ghost.
Unless they were happy being chunky.
Well, some people, I'm happy, I'm chunky, I'm happy being a wee chunky monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean? As my wife and daughters tell me.
Well, there was cultures and periods of time in history where you were considered rich and successful the heavier you were, because it was a sign that you could afford food. So It's funny how perception changes as well. So if you went back far enough, a spirit from back far enough from that period of time wanted to show themselves, they might present themselves as like they might morbidly obese might be the perfection for them, because it shows that I was affluent, I was wealthy, I could afford to eat meat and go to banquets. And back then it was the thinner people who were like, they were poor, they worked on the fields. Like, do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So I guess time and perception and cultural things will have an impact on how they present themselves as well.
Just you say, culture's changed and, everything's progressed, moved on modern times and stuff. It makes you wonder that maybe, but what if they had never been slim, so they wouldn't know how to portray themselves as slim, as all their features would change?
What if they've never been slim? But you start off slim.
They'd probably be slim at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. That's a complicated one for me. I prefer the basics. He's just trying to complicate things. He made me forget what I was going to say. I don't know about that, Rigger, actually. I suppose we were all slim at one point. Yourself included. Because we are a rare species, Rigger, we are not fat or morbidly obese. We are harder to kidnap, eat cake well in this realm. We're harder to kidnap, so to eat a lot of cake. Aye. So the other thing I wonder, Kat, is something, you see you get a spirit for the, 1600s, 15, 1600s, and they're looking at society now. No, aye. I wonder what they would make it now. Or the spirits for the 1600s just only see society when they were alive.
I think
Do you know
they'll
what I
see.
mean?
I think they'll see us as we've progressed, and I think if they've watched us from then, they'll have an understanding of it. They might not necessarily agree with the way the world's went, but they'll understand what's going on. And if they only saw their time period, then they wouldn't be able to interact with our devices because they wouldn't see them. They wouldn't understand them. So I think
That's
but
true.
then do they choose, like some of them might just be like, I've got no interest in this, I'm off. And then they maybe just don't pay attention. It's almost like at school where you had to do modern studies. Do you know what I mean? Like when they go into the afterlife, are they going to still be interested in what's going on and want to study us? Maybe some of them do. Or are they going to be like, nah, I'm going to just enjoy my afterlife and live up here and let the living do whatever they want. Like, I think they've got that option.
I think because I'm a bit of a nosy bugger, so I think I'd come back and forward just to have a wee peek.
I think
See
it's
how it's
similar
like.
to, see if you had like, how some people have ant colonies and you can watch the ants build their wee colonies in the glass cases. So those ants are totally unaware that they're being watched. They're unaware that there's a whole other world outside that wee colony in that glass case. And they just go and do their own thing and like build their world and feed their queen and do all that. And they all have their reassigned roles. I imagine it must be pretty similar for us in the spirit world, whereas we're the ants and they're watching us. They're aware of all of us, but we're not aware of all of them. And there's an odd occasion where there might be an ant that glances through the glass and knows that there's something there but can't quite tell what it is. That's like us when we're trying to communicate with the spirit world.
That's actually a good comparison. I've never thought of it like that. That's actually a good comparison. The ant thing. I've never thought of that before, but it must be, we're just kind of, well, there's no standing about, but we're moving about and we're watching these. I like that comparison, actually.
Just, it's a way that I keep it quite easy in my head to understand. We're the ants, basically.
I've never been called it. Like spiders, they build their web, they catch flies, they eat, and that's their world.
Same as fish in the ocean. The fish are quite happy in the ocean, totally unaware that there's a dry land above them, full of other things.
So that's what I like about our chats, because we always talk about stupid stuff. Well, not stupid stuff, but, things that other folk...
things that are on the fringes.
If it's possible, they can see how the world... If it's possible, they can see how the world has evolved and see how everything has changed, then it surely means there's a perception of time in the spirit world.
Yeah. So there's a perception of they'll understand how our time passes, but we don't understand how their time passes. So they understand the concept. And of course they'll understand the concept because they were living people at one point, so they know time is a thing. They know that they aged, they know that time passed. It's just so happens that in our lifetime, we created a numerical system to like organise time. Do you know what I mean? So we have dates and years and all that. Whereas in the spirit world, they might not have the same system, so it might not have the same passing of time, but they are aware of time. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, because they've been here and done
it. Yeah, they've experienced life, so they have an understanding of it. It's almost like they've leveled up, like they've done the life bit, they've learned all of this, they've experienced all of this. They've now leveled up, but they've not forgot everything from their living days. They're now just in the next stage, learning all of that and dealing with all of that, but still have knowledge of when they were alive.
I definitely agree with that. That Catherine, we think in similar ways. I do. We 100%. I do believe that we take our memory, we take everything with us except the body. And after the, if you know that you have Catherine as well. I've had occasions where it's been kind of proved to me. One was just briefly, I lost a daughter in 1992, and we did an investigation at Stair. Just Stair's a small village. It's about 20 minutes for us, but we always felt there was a little girl was following us about in our investigation. We always picked up on a little girl, and so at Stair, I decided to ask, in case it was my daughter, and I says, "Can you tell me the toy I used to put in your bed every night?" And we never got anything. So then I asked, "Can you tell me what colour it was?" And we got back. There was 8 or 10 years there, and we got back green. And asked twice, and it came back twice green. Well, we had a little toy Rexy for Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to put that in her bed every night beside her,
Mm-hmm.
and Rexy's green. So that lets you know that they do remember.
Mm-hmm.
Soon I get a message from my grandma for the medium in Shawlands, and the medium says she's a wee woman, but she described my grandma. She said, but she's doing this at her waist. She keeps doing this. She says you'll recognise her by doing this. My grandma wore the old-fashioned aprons when she got up, went to her bed. And she was tiny. My grandma was about 3 foot tall or something. She was minute. And the tyres were too long for her. So she had to wrap it around twice. And she was always tying and untying it. And used to drive me and my big brother nuts. She grand, just leave it. It's fine. Your apron, oh no, it's too loose. And she was constant. So that's what the medium says, you'll recognise her by doing this. So again, that's, to me, that's an example that they do remember.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they remember everything or just parts, who knows, but there is memory there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sounds sure. I like to think the spirit is what we consider a telescope. They can get glimpses of the world as it is now. I remember that she's with you, Scott, not just at Stair at Loudon too. She was with you. We got a message. One time at Loudon, I did a wee lone walkabout myself, and my sleeve get tugged twice.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody else there. And then during one of the investigations we did, I think Rosie and Emma was with us as well. I says, "Can you tell me who pulled on my sleeve? Who was it that pulled on my sleeve?" And we get back a clear EVP. It was me, Daddy.
Oh.
So that's what Laura's meaning. But it does show that, they do remember.
Mm-hmm.
They do have memories. As I say, whether it's all of them or partial, who knows. But have you ever experienced any experiences with that? It's just kind of stopped you in your tracks.
Like the tugging on the sleeve? Do you mean?
No, just, an experience, an investigation that you've, as I say, they're own, I'm not easily shocked and all that, but just when you get something that happened that just totally stumps you personally.
Is it the vaults? There's two of the vaults in Edinburgh. I can never remember what one's what. It's the one that's got like the big, it's like a big empty stone room.
Stone circle.
Aye. So it's, yeah. And then further down, there's like just another big empty room. So it was in that room, whatever those vaults were, because I can't remember. There's two like different.
That's there's two sets. That's Nidry Street. There's two sets of vaults in that.
Aye. I think street. It's like the ones at the. You know how it's like a hill. It's the ones on like the bottom side of the hill. So we're in there, and we were just folk sitting down getting ready to do the vigil. And then there was this like clinking sound, but right in front of me, and I'm like, what was that? And then it happened again. And it was money was being thrown, but for nowhere. Like, no one was throwing money. And the other people were like, it was a big room where there was nobody in front of me. And it was like 20 pences that were just appearing in front of me and landing in the ground. So they weren't throwing them at me, they weren't hitting me, but they were throwing them like to me.
At your
like,
feet.
At my feet. I was sat on the ground, I was against the wall, and I'm like, that's money coming from somewhere. I know how that way I'm like, I don't know whether to say anything or not, because folk are going to think I'm mental, because you don't usually get, that was the first time I've had like solid, like, it's not just been a noise or you see something, there was something physical that I could pick up and touch that they had thrown. And it wasn't until the end of the night I said to it was a guy walking up at like now they have with the caretaker, and I was like, oh, that, like, did anything like that ever happen? And he said, oh, that's quite common. He couldn't say specifically what part of the bolts it happens in, but he says, no, that's happened before. Where folk will have got money dropped at their feet. So there was that, and then there was the time at Inverary Jail, and I could hear, again, we were all just filing into the room, and folk were finding that, like, there's a place to be comfortable. So we hadn't actually even started the vigil yet, and folk were just kind of chatting quietly amongst themselves until we get started. And I was sure there was a woman in the corner said to me, she turned around, she swore at me, she's like, shut the fuck up, dead loud, clear as day. And I turned around and I'm like, excuse me, who are you talking to? I was ready to square go this woman. And she's like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, did you just tell me to shut the fuck up? And she's like, no, I never said anything. And her pal was like, she never said anything, she didn't. And I'm like, Sharon that was next to me, I'm like, you heard that, right? And she's like, clear as day, it was as if she had spoke right to me. And the poor lassie, like, she'd never said anything, but I was getting right angry. But it was weird because it was like, it's almost as if the vibe in the room was wanting people to be angry. So I was just like on edge. And then we started the vigil, and there was a guy stood in front of me, and because it was a cell, the windows were like at the top of the wall, and light was coming in through that window, so I could see his silhouette because he was in front of me. The window was behind him, and like, we're just quietly waiting for a response. I can't even remember what they asked or called out, but he was just stood, and coming behind his shoulders was like a big black cloth thing, but around both shoulders, almost as if they were like engulfing him. And I was just like, oh my god, what am I seeing things? What is that? He was totally unaware that he wasn't aware of anything. In fact, he actually spaced out. He doesn't remember the event. And then there was footsteps. We were in the cell directly across for the stairs, and we heard the door downstairs, like clear as day, open and closing, big solid wooden door, and then the footsteps on the concrete staircase. And we're all waiting, thinking it's a person. We're all waiting for somebody to come up. Nobody came up, so we radioed down to the hub, and they're like, no, nobody's left the hub, everybody's accounted for. And then at that, everybody freaked out, because it was like they were getting loud. We knew they were coming towards us. They were getting louder and louder and louder, and then everyone left. And the chap that I saw with the thing, he'd blanked out. Like, he wasn't unconscious at any point, but we got him out of the room, and he was down the stair, and he looked so pale. He looked ill. He looked really unwell. And took him out for a bit, and we're like, do you remember anything? And he's like, I don't remember. He's like, I remember the start of the vigil when we all arrived, and then the last thing I remember is you coming down here saying I look not well. Doesn't remember anything. I think that was some sort of, I don't want to say attachment, or there was something took hold of him there, and there was something in that room that wanted people to be like nippy with each other. And it was one of those nights where it wasn't just one thing happened. It was like something and something, all like very, very quickly.
A series of things.
Yeah. And it totally shook everyone. Like, nobody wanted to go back in there. It totally shook everybody. A few folk left, I think, after that, because it was proper. That was one of the main times where I was like, hold on a minute, should I actually be doing this? I really questioned whether I should keep doing the paranormal thing or not, because it was just, there was no control. Everything that happened was affecting people differently. There was no break from it. It was just a constant barrage of paranormal activity that was very, very unsettling, that had physical implications to some people. And And that's when I was like, what am I doing here?
If I chose the wrong path to take.
Yeah.
We've never had anything. Well, I see with one experience at Canongate Kirk, where I don't know if you've been to Canongate Kirk. It's down the bottom half of the Royal Mile. It's like a smaller version of Greyfriars.
Yeah.
And we were doing a 3 a.m. investigation at Greyfriars, but we go to Edinburgh early, so we thought, right, we'll go down to Canongate, and Sarah was there with her brother and what have you. And we walked in the gate, and you walk out, the church sits at the front, and then the Kirk car's round the back. There's graves kind of surround it. But it wasn't demonic or anything, but we got this overwhelming feeling that we weren't wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't want you in here, get out kind of thing. But the girls and I, they went back to the car and I went for a wander. But the funny thing was you know me, I'm quite a laid back. It takes a lot to push my buttons. I'm quite a laid back guy. But I went for a wander, took some photos, came back out. But when I came out that Kirk, I was absolutely furious. I was raging. Nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't met anybody. You know, I must have been in there for about 15, 20 minutes myself, wandering about, taking photos. But I was absolutely fuming for no reason. But I got in the car and drove up to Greyfriars and the feeling just disappeared.
It's weird.
I'm not saying it was an attachment or demonic or anything like that. I'm just, you know, if I was that, you know, and I just couldn't explain it. I just could not explain it. And I was just, but as soon as we got to, the further we got away from there, the feeling just disappeared. And I was back to my wee lovable self again.
It's bizarre.
So, it is bizarre, you know, and it's been times where that happened that you just can't explain. I mean, if I'd met somebody in the Kirkyard and they'd, you know, kicked me in the shins or something, I could understand it, but there wasn't a soul there. But I was absolutely fuming. And
that's why we do it, though. It's the love of the unexplained. That's why we keep doing it.
That's why we keep doing it, you know, that's why we keep going to Loudon, and Loudon's gave us so much. Even that night you were there, with the branch that moved. Did you know about that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was great, actually. That for our first time, Sean, I think it was that saw it. But for our first time there, to have that level of activity, it was like, wow, we need to come back here. That was pretty good. And it was like, look, everybody else was looking at each other like, did you see that? Did you see that? And nobody was near it.
I knew it was near it, and we looked down, and it went.
It wasn't even like, it wasn't like fast as if it failed. It was very controlled.
It was in a slow motion. It just.
We're all just watching it like, what's going on here? Anyway, I'm going to need to boost because I am up at 5 o'clock tomorrow for work.
No, that's fine. No, I was going to wrap because that's an hour and a half. I was just going to wrap it up anyway. So I'm going to get you back because we've still got loads to chat about. Where can people find you?
Just give Unlock Paranormal a Google. You will find us through that. That should take you to our new website. If it's working, I hope it is. Other than that, we're on all the socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Just search for Unlock Paranormal and we will be there. Feel free to drop us a message. We're on YouTube as well. I kind of just use YouTube as like a storage for uploading videos. So I've not got the latest up yet because I've just not had time to throw the footage. But yeah, TikTok mainly, and Facebook, and you'll find us there.
So give them a wee Unlock Paranormal, give them a wee look up, folks. But you will be seeing Catherine again, and you will be seeing us out with them again because they're a really good team and very, very genuine. And Caroline could talk for Britain. Catherine could talk for Britain.
I really could.
You know what I mean? But we're going to. I'll keep you just for a wee second after we come off, though.
No bother.
We're going to wind up there, so a big thanks to Kathleen for coming in. We're back on tomorrow night with Mr. Greyfriars himself, Jamie Kistorfin, and we are who's the world's leading the world's leading expert on the Mackenzie poltergeist, Greyfriars, Enton, David Edinburgh. But tomorrow night, Jamie's going to be on a rant because he's sick and tired of all these stupid stories that are appearing about Mackenzie poltergeist and the Black Mausoleum and folks just getting totally wrong. So tomorrow night, Jamie is going to be here, and we're going to be second. I'm really doing well in my speech, innit? Second. It's been a long day. Setting the record straight, so that's 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But give Unlock Paranormal a wee look up and you will see Catherine again. So we're going to bid you good night just now and enjoy the rest of your evening, folks. All right. So cheers for watching and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.